Greetings, Paul here, Stop Recovering, Start Living, and today I want to share with you some of, well, 4 of the most common relapse preliminary things. 4 of the most common, what are they? 4 of the top reasons for relapse. I don't know what I'll end up titling it, but 4 things that I came up with that I hear the most frequently. Now these are some of them are kind of broad categories, but there it is. So number 1. Stress and frustration. Stress and frustration, feeling overwhelmed, feeling like there's no other way to manage the day is likely to, has been for many people, likely to end up in use after a period of abstinence. Now, this could be the stress of withdrawals. If you're early on, if you're within the first 2 to 4 weeks, it very likely could be part of the withdrawal. It's part of the stress of not following through with the routine, which is difficult to do. It's breaking the conditioning, right? So it can be the stress from that, or it can be stress from life. If you've conditioned yourself to respond to the regular life stress by using a substance or a behavior to escape it, to minimize it, to numb it, whatever, then you're likely to repeat that. And so you're trying to change that. So now when those stressors come up, you might not have a go-to survival mechanism, as addiction often is a survival mechanism, or it's the consequence of the survival mechanism attempt, the thing you used. You know what I'm saying? So if you're feeling stressed, I'm gonna put this up here, that way I'm not looking down the whole time. Does that work? Yeah, there we go. Hey, if I put the paper right next to the camera, that makes it look like I'm looking at the camera. Look at the camera, remember? That's my thing I say. Okay, so here's a helpful quote. Well, here's a quote that I liked, that I found useful. And I don't remember if it was something that I read and I wrote down, and this has been a problem recently. I have been making notes in my phone, but not putting down the attribution. So I don't know if it's something I read or heard or something I created on my own. If it's something I created on my own, I like it. But if it's not, then it belongs to somebody else. So I guess I could Google it and find out, but I didn't yet. So here's what it is. I don't know why I'm doing this, but I am. It's not about avoiding stress, but in purposefully addressing it. So when the stresses come up, it's not, we don't want to resist it. We don't want to fight against it. I've talked about that before. If we're resisting things, we don't want to resist. We're going to accept. I don't know what this is. It's helpful to me. I don't know. But we don't want to, so if stress and frustration are leading you to relapse, or if you are wanting to avoid relapse and you are feeling stress and frustration, what can you do rather than, you can't avoid it, it's part of your life. So how can you approach that situation instead? If it's stress at work, let's say you're not keeping up with the expectations of your boss. And so your boss comes to you and says, I need you to do more, or I need you to do better. I need you to do something that you're not doing now. And that causes you stress. That's appropriate and normal, I think. How can you find meaning in that stress? Purposefully address it. How can you increase your awareness? What can you do to manage that situation rather than escaping, rather than numbing, rather than getting away from it? What can you do to fix it, to accept that the stress exists, and then to resolve it in a more natural way, more healthy way? Maybe you can have a conversation with the boss, explain what's going on. Maybe if you feel safe enough, you can say, look, I'm abstaining from this substance or behavior early on in it. It's been a couple days or a couple weeks, and I'm feeling overwhelmed. Is there something that we can do? Blah, blah, blah. I don't know. Just an example. But finding meaning in the stress or the stressor, if you can't eliminate it from your life, how can you purposefully address it? All right, number 2, physical discomfort. And I don't know, I'm making these videos too long. Physical discomfort. Often in the recovery community, you'll hear hungry, angry, lonely, tired. And so the idea is that if you're likely to relapse if you are hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. Why? You're physically feeling something or emotionally feeling something that either hurts or is uncomfortable. And so you're looking for a way to medicate that, self-medicate, which I don't have a problem with self-medication. But if you're trying to get out of the impulsive compulsive element of that self-medication, then that's what the whole purpose of this is. Start living your life so you're not compulsively using a substance to deal with something. It's okay to use the substance, just don't use it compulsively. within reason, right? And that's up to you to decide. It's not my call. But having these, so if it's physical, so I'm calling this physical discomfort, physical or emotional discomfort. It could be physical or emotional pain. You get broken up with from your significant other. You lose something, lose a game, lose a job, lose something that you wanted to not lose. So whatever those kind of situations can cause physical or emotional pain. Something I've read that's fascinating to me and repeated all the time is that the brain doesn't differentiate between physical or emotional pain. It's the same. At some level, it's the same. And so if your heart gets literally broken by something stabbing it, or figuratively broken by someone telling you that they don't love you anymore, the pain is similar. It's in the same, sensation comes in the same part of the brain. So these pain-killing drugs that we like to use makes sense. If we're in pain, you take a painkiller. So physical or emotional discomfort. Some of that is going to be. There's another way you can address it. If it's the hungry, angry, lonely, tired bit, halt. If you're hungry, you eat something, right? And that would be a better way to deal with life than to drink or to snort something, right? So eat something real. Your body's craving nutrition. You feed it. But that might be difficult to do when you're dealing with all these other things, right? So I understand it. If you're dealing with in the moment, the compulsion is really tough, and it's going to be difficult to break out of that. Just like when you're depressed, smile and it'll make you feel better, or do some jumping jacks, or go for a walk, or call your friend. But when you're depressed, it's hard to do those things because the motivation, the energy to do it is just not there. That's why you're depressed. So when you're struggling to prevent relapse, the things to do to prevent relapse are really difficult to do. So it almost seems like it's it's just, years ago when I was dealing with anxiety myself or depression, if someone would have said what I say now to me then would have said, you don't know what you're talking about, I'm out. I wouldn't have said it like, well, maybe I would have said it like, I don't know. But because I wouldn't have, because it seems just too like, in order to do the thing you want to do, you got to do the thing you can't do, right? So it's difficult. But if you are feeling these things, if you're feeling physical discomfort, I guess I'm not trying to answer, I'm not trying to tell you what to do to prevent this. I'm trying to tell you what to do to be aware of it, to increase awareness. That's, again, the only thing I can really encourage is to increase your awareness, and then it's up to you to act on that. But increasing your awareness over time. Maybe today all I can be is aware that I have these feelings. Tomorrow, maybe I can be aware of that I have the feelings and why. And then I can work on being aware of having the feelings, why I have the feelings, and maybe what else I could do, but only in my thoughts. And then the day after that, or sometime after that, I have those previous awarenesses, but also now I know what I could do instead, and then I actually do the thing instead. So it takes some time to work up to. So if you're hungry, eat. If you're angry, cool down. Talk to the person you're angry with or the thing. Figure it out. If you're lonely, find someone to talk to. There's plenty of people to talk to. Even if you just go to a store and have a 2-minute conversation with the clerk if you can, or somebody in the line behind you, or something like that. Anybody. You can just, anything. It's not always easy to do, and you might run into the wrong person, but give it a shot. Just step outside of that comfort zone and try to break some of these things you're feeling, the loneliness or whatever. If you're tired, take a nap. That's an easy one. Unless you're in the middle of a job and you drive truck and you're on a bridge, don't take a nap then, especially not then. But a lot of other times you find a safe place and then you take a nap if you can. What time is it right now? I'm not trying to look for a time to take a nap. I was just curious if I was ending up missing an appointment. Didn't realize, didn't pay attention to when I was starting this. Okay, so physical discomfort, or physical or emotional discomfort might be a cause for relapse. Again, so become aware of these things, and then as they come into your life, maybe you find a different way of addressing them, and you can avoid the relapse. But like I said in the previous video, relapse, it's not the end of the world, but that doesn't mean we plan for or welcome it. And the whole goal is to live your life without these compulsive behaviors. So identifying what leads up to the compulsive behaviors is useful in avoiding those compulsive behaviors. So another one I think is ego fatigue. Ego fatigue. Hey, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to try and type this on the thing as I say it. I'm going to type it on the screen. I think I know how to do that. Ego fatigue. What is ego fatigue? It is the idea that to make a decision or to carry out an action, it takes energy from the brain. And My nose whistled a little bit. And that energy can become depleted. And when that energy becomes depleted, it becomes more difficult to make decisions or to act in a way that you want to act. Now, you think you could probably picture a time in your life, recall a time when you had a similar experience where it was more difficult to do a thing or to think about something or to make a decision than at other times. There's probably not a whole lot of moments in your life you can recall where you were unable to do it. So that might, you're like, well, I don't think I can get tired of making decisions, but think about it. Maybe you can. Anyway, so ego fatigue, I think, is a very common one because it can happen from thinking about something too much. And this is where comes back to stop recovering, start living. When we focus, there's some sound that distracted me. When we focus on one of these days, I'm gonna be doing this. There's pigeons that fly into my window in my office. I'm up on the 5th floor, and 5th. It's the 5th, but I'm trying to think with the basement. That one doesn't really count, so it's 5th from the ground level. Well, no, I guess it does count to the lower. Sorry. One of these days, the pigeons can hit the window, and I'm gonna freak out, and it'll be funny if I'm recording. That's all I'll say. Okay, so ego fatigue. So if you are constantly thinking, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do this, you're putting all of your energy into not doing it. Now, if you feel pressured from inside to do it, and then you're feeling pressure from inside not to do it, and then so you've got all this pressure going on, and eventually you're going to be weakened, and you're going to run out of that. You're going to become mentally exhausted. And so if the only thing keeping you from doing the behavior is you telling yourself not to do it, then you're going to probably, well, you're more likely to do it at that point. And that's why this becomes a common reason for relapse. So how do you get around that? You don't. Sorry. No, I'm just kidding. You stop focusing on the thing you don't want to do. Stop telling yourself, I can't drink, I can't drink, I can't drink. Make the decision once in the morning and then move on with your life. And this is why it's so vitally important to focus on things that you want to replace. In yesterday's video, I talked about understand, make a plan, and get to work. In that plan, figure out what you're going to do in place of these things. Maybe this is what you can incorporate into it with when you go through this. You can identify when I feel stressed out, I'm going to do this instead. When I feel physical discomfort, I'm going to do this instead. When I feel ego fatigue, I'm going to do this instead. If you have something on hand ready to go, or you have a plan, a schedule to follow, then you don't need to keep telling yourself, I'm not going to drink, because you're doing something. So if you're sitting at home thinking, I'm going to quit, I'm really going to quit, this time I'm going to quit, and you don't give yourself anything to do, maybe for whatever reason, you're just at home that day. It's a day off of work, you're not working currently, you're not in school, whatever it is, you're home with nothing to do, and you think, I'm not going to do this thing. And you think about it all day long, and there's nothing else to do. That's a recipe for disaster. Disaster relative to relapse, which relative to my approach is not really disaster. It's a day off from the program, the reconditioning, but for some people, relapse is disastrous, and that's often the way people view it. I don't view it that way, but it's often viewed that way by people I work with, so I'm saying it in that way. You know what I'm saying? Got it. Cool. Okay, and the fourth thing I thought of was complacency or celebration. So they're kind of, I feel like they're kind of in the same place. Oftentimes I hear, well, I was doing so well, it's been so long that I thought that I could just get by with this one time, and then they're off to the races, kind of thing, you know. And so I think that comes down to a complacency. I think that the idea of I've been doing so well, so I rewarded myself, I think that's an element of complacency, and just thinking that, you know what, it's been long enough, I got this, I'm strong, or whatever. But those two things, I think that they're linked. It's in the same kind of idea. It's either it's been a long time, I'm feeling comfortable with everything the way it's going, or it's been a long time and I earned it. You know what? It's been 2 months since I drank a pint a day. I can have one shot today, and maybe you can, and that's cool if you can. But if you can't, and maybe you need to have that moment where you try it out to determine that, well, I guess I can't do it that way just yet, not yet, you know, or maybe I don't want to anymore. But whatever it comes down to. But I think that those are two common things. And so what is the common denominator with that is taking your attention off of your goal. Your goal is to not do those things anymore, not for celebratory reasons, not for self-medicating reasons, not for any reason, if it's going to be compulsive. So you're taking your eye off of the goal, and you're lowering your self-awareness. And all of these things, what we're talking about, increasing our self-awareness. So these are, I don't know, Went longer than I was thinking, but that's just the way it is, I guess. So, top four reasons that I have gathered from my experience with people, working with people that are overcoming addictions. Number one, stress and frustration. Number two, physical or emotional discomfort. Number three, ego fatigue. Number four, complacency or celebration. And I had a goal myself of this video talking slower so that it would be more understandable. And I think that I failed miserably. There was a few things some feedback that I was getting from people. One was to fix the lighting, which I think I've done in the last couple of videos, but my eyes were too dark, raccoon looking, and that was creepy. And then also that I speak very quickly, and I do, and I acknowledge that. And so I was intending to make a note for myself that says speak slower, but I didn't do that yet. So maybe I will now because I forgot. But just to try out well, no, I guess, I don't know. I think that, okay. I'm done. I will make another video tomorrow or post another video tomorrow. I'm making these a couple at a time and then posting them on different days. But come back tomorrow and you will find a new video. If this was useful or helpful to you, then you can go back and review some of the other ones. And if it wasn't, then never come back to this channel again, and you will be better off for it. And that's okay. Well, hope you enjoyed something, and whatever else. Blah, blah, blah. Da, 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 da.